Jai, Tulsi Maharani ki Jai. We offer our most respectful obeisances and to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, to fulfill the desires of everybody, and they're full of compassion for the fallen, conditioned souls. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya. Jayo Radha Madhuma Kunda Bihari Jayo Radha Madhuma Kunda Bihari Dava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Janabanapa Hidibarudati Gopi Janabalapa Yedivaradhati Jana Balaba Yedivarada Yasodanandana Brajajananandana Yasodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Balachate Yamuna Tira Balachate Jayo Radho Madhava Kunda Bihati Jayo Radho Madhava Kunda Bihati Gopi Janabalapa Idibarudati Gopi Janabalapa Idibarudati Yasudanandana Rajajanuranjana
Yasunanandana Brajachanuran Jana Jamuna Tera Vanachari Jamuna Tera Vanachari Jairadhu Madhava Kunya Vikhati Jairadhu Madhava Kunya Vikhati Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvatikarya All Satchara Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuradam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastai Budle Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivasesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatarni. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 58th chapter, text 52. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So someone needs to operate the mouse. Just page down as we read. Dampati Ratam Aropya Mahatya Sanaya Vitao Sneha Praklina Hridayo Ayapayam Asa Koshala Dampati Ratamaropya Matcha Saniya Vitao Sneha Praklina Ritayo Ayapayama Sakoshala Dampati Ratamaropya Mahatya Saniya Vitao Sneha Praklina Hridayo Yapayamasa koshala Dampati Raktamarupya Mahatya Senihavritao Sneha Praklinahritayo Yapayanga Sakoshala All right. Tatyarumaropya Yasanayavitao Raklina Hridayo Shlamasha. Good. Anyone else? Okay. Dampati, the couple. Ratam, their chariot. Aropya, having the mount. Mahatya, by a large. Senaya, army. Ritau, accompanied. Sneha, with affection. Prakrana, melting. Hridaya, his heart. Yapayam, asa, sent them off. Koshala, the king of Koshala. So translation, the king of Koshala, his heart melting with affection, had the bride and groom seated on their chariot, and then he sent them on their way, surrounded by a great army. So you can repeat. The king of Koshala, his heart melting with affection, had the bride and groom seated on their chariot, and then he sent them on their way, surrounded by a great army. So there's no commentary to this verse, and most of the verses for the rest of the chapter, actually all the verses for the rest of the chapter, are just describing the events and not so much philosophy there, which we've already talked upon. So we'll probably read a few verses. So let me just read Jiva Goswami's commentary. The king had a couple surrounded by a great army because his heart, it's exactly the same, was extremely moist with tears caused by his affection. So the commentary is exactly the same as the verse. So, Dampati Rantamarupya Matya Senyo Vritao Sneya Praklina Hridayko Yapayama Sakoshala. So obviously this is the king of Koshala. So Omagana Timidanda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur and Militam Yena Tasmai Shigadaveda Maha. This is the king of Koshala who always wanted Krishna to marry his daughter Satya, and in order for that to happen, he had to have this whole ceremony of the bulls, the 7 bulls that had to be captured and tamed by someone in order to marry his daughter. And the reason he arranged that is because many of his relatives were opposed, and friends were opposed to him having his daughter marry Krishna. So he understood that only Krishna could do it, so he made a arrangement so that only Krishna could do it. So only Krishna would marry his daughter. And it's a very similar story. We're going to be reading more verses, but I just want to comment shortly on this. Very similar story to Drupada. For those of you who don't know who Drupada is the father of Draupadi and Drishtadyumna in the Mahabharata story. And Drupada, going back a little bit, I guess we'll tell the whole story since we have time. Drupada had great animosity towards Dronacharya. And anyway, so it was great animosity. And one of his other sons, who was previously a girl, also had great animosity towards Bhishma, because previously she was Amba, and then she became Shikandini, or Shikandi, as the case may be. Anyway, it's a whole story of how she was born as a girl, and she was transformed by this Yaksha, Stulavarna, into a boy, but that's not really applicable to this particular story. So, anyway, Drupada, he wanted his daughter to marry Arjuna. Now, previously, it was thought that the Pandavas were burnt to ashes in the house of Varnavat. So anyway, but somehow or other he had some inclination, and actually being advised by Krishna, that Arjuna was still alive, and so therefore he arranged this whole Swayamvara ceremony so that only Arjuna could win. And actually there was another person who could have won the Swayamvara ceremony of shooting the eye of a fish, looking down at a pond in the ground, reflection on the ground. The fish was up in the air somehow or other, and only Arjuna or Karna could have accomplished this particular feat. But Karna was later on told that he should not compete by Draupadi herself. So anyway, so this was all arranged by Drupada so that Arjuna would marry Draupadi. So this is a similar type of thing, because even though there were so many impediments, sometimes the Swayamvara is arranged by the king, so only one particular person can marry. And so in this particular case, only Krishna, this particular case we're talking about here in the Bhagavatam, is only Krishna would be able to marry Satya, because he was the only one capable of taming these 7 bulls. So anyways, that's the story. So now we'll continue reading. Shrutvaita, text 53. Shrutvaita rurudur bhupa nayantam patikanyakam magna virya sudar durmasha yadubirgo vrishai pura. When the intolerant kings, who had been rival suitors, heard what had happened, they tried to stop Lord Krishna on the road as he took his bride home. But just as the bulls had broken the king's strength before, the Yadu warriors broke it now. And Jiva Goswami has a commentary on this verse. The kings heard about this in their various lands and then came. Krishna was somewhat delayed in Kosala because of waiting for the correct constellation, etc., for the wedding. Actually, another interesting point here. Conducted according to the rules. They obstructed him on the road because they were extremely intolerant in nature, Sudura Marsha, proud of their heroism. But their valor was immediately crushed by the Yadus. this was the same as their previous condition as being defeated by the bulls. So, of course, this is the Kshatriya spirit, because the Kshatriyas had been defeated by the bulls previously. They were embarrassed, and one who has been defeated, it's worse than death for a Kshatriya. As we know in the stories that Prabhupada told, that sometimes the Kshatriyas would not even be allowed home by their wives if they had not defeated their enemy, or if they had not been killed, of course, but then they'd be allowed home as a corpse. So Prabhupada tells that one story. At one time there was a Kshatriya who went out to fight a battle, and he just didn't win, and he lost. He was losing, so he came back home, and his wife would not let him back in the castle. His wife said, "You could not be my husband, because my husband would never come back unless he had won or as a corpse, having been killed by the enemy." So he got very enthused by his wife, because the wife is actually the energy of the husband, the Shakti of the husband. So he got very enthused. He went out and he fought, and he actually won. So this is the reason that kings were fighting Krishna, is because they were they were actually feeling embarrassed. Their reputation had been ruined. All right, and because Krishna had actually been able to win by tackling the bulls. So that's one point here. Another point is very interesting, is that Krishna was concerned with the astrological calculation for the marriage. Now, sometimes you find people who are really concerned with these things. Just like there was one devotee I was just speaking to, he was saying, we're not going to have a kirtan mela this month because this is called a malmas. Malmas means like a month that is actually considered inauspicious. The reason it's considered inauspicious, it's like it's a leap month. Everybody knows what a leap year is. So there's in the Vedic calculation, which is based on the moon, that every like 2.5 years or 3 years, there's an extra month added to the year. Did you know that? The reason for that is because the moon cycle is different than the sun cycle, and so you have to bring it back into coordination with the sun cycle by adding a month every 2 or 3 years. In the same way, we add, in America and in the Western world, we add a day every 4 years, right? That's leap year, which is that day that we add is February 29th, which comes every 4 years. So, anyway, so in other words, this devotee, of course, that was an improper consideration because there's no question of delaying a kirtan mela because you're considering that there's some auspicious or inauspicious time or month, because kirtan is always auspicious. But in any case, Krishna was considering what was the correct constellation. That's very interesting. Let me describe what. There's actually 12 constellations, whether you know this or not. And these 12 constellations, depending on which constellation is present at a particular time, that determines certain astrological calculations. So astrology is much more than just the constellations. It's also the grahas, which means planets. And the grahas are a little bit different. The planets are a little bit different than the 9 we know in the solar system. There's Ketu and Rahu, and they don't include Pluto or Uranus. So there's there's many different things that are calculated. There's also 3 different things that are calculated in astrology, which is, one is the house. You understand? The house, constellation, and the grahas, or the planets. Those are the 3 things. If you understand those 3 things, then you understand the basis of astrology. So the house means, okay, describe what a house is. A house means, according to the time of the day, the first house is the ascendant, where the sun is coming up. And the second house comes after that, all the way to 12 houses. Does everybody follow that? Yeah, there's 12 houses. And these houses are stationary. Stationary means they remain at the same location. First house is always when the sun is coming up. You understand? It's called lagna in astrology. And the second house is afterwards, etc., like that. And so the planets keep moving based upon the rotation of the Earth, and the also the constellations like Aries, Taurus, Libra. You've heard of these things before? No, those aren't the planets. It's the constellations of stars. Aries, Taurus, Libra, Sagittarius, Leo. They keep moving, and there'll be a different constellation in the houses as the constellations keep moving. Does that make sense? Because of the rotation of the Earth. But the houses are always the same, because it's always when the sun is rising at the first, and then it goes all the way to 12 houses. And the planets keep moving too. And so depending on which house, it gets a little more complicated than that, depending on which house the planet is in, and which house the constellation is in, and the angles between them, and also whether the planets are moving in retrograde, or what retrograde means. Sometimes the planets appear to be moving backwards because of the rotation of the Earth and the other planets. So it appears like, for example, Mars is moving backwards at some particular time, and that's considered inauspicious. Anyway, so all these things are taken into account when calculating the astrological formation, and actually according to whether one should perform marriages at that particular time, which is actually a good idea to calculate. There's an auspicious time for marriages. As far as chanting the holy name, it's always auspicious. Just like when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world, it was materially considered an inauspicious time. Why was it materially considered an inauspicious time? Because there was an eclipse. And what did they do during that inauspicious time? They chanted the holy name, and they bathed in the Ganges River. So spiritual activities are always auspicious. Always auspicious. Although according to certain rules, obviously the temples, the deity worship is not performed at that particular time when there's an eclipse. And you're not supposed to eat. Even if it's prasadam, you're not supposed to eat during that time. And you're not supposed to sleep during that time. But the chanting of the Lord's holy name, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is always auspicious. And the chanting can be done at any particular time. And chanting Krishna Katha and the Srimad Bhagavatam can be done at any time. So anyway, but for marriages, these things should be examined to make sure that you're crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's, because marriages are not, unless you're dealing with the marriage of Krishna, marriages always have some little tinge of material interest. You understand? Unless the pure devotees, like Krishna marrying Satya, then you don't worry about it. Krishna is setting an example here of how one should consult astrologers when, or consult the stars when considering whether or not to perform some ceremony like a marriage. Okay. Anyway, so this is what's mentioned here in this verse. Text 54. Tana satta shadavratan mandupriya krid arjuna gondiva kaleham asa singhakshudra mriganiva. Arjuna, wielder of the Gandiva bow, was always eager to please his friend Krishna, and thus he drove back those opponents who were shooting torrents of arrows at the Lord. He did this just as a lion drives away insignificant animals. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says exactly the same thing. Arjuna drove them away easily. Jiva Goswami, let's see if he says anything. Yes, he says something different. Arjuna was in the procession in order to... My God. Arjuna was in the procession in order to see the wedding, since he had come to Dwarka out of great affection for Krishna or because of being secretly summoned. And then Sanatana Goswami says, Arjuna drove them away easily because he had the Gandiva bow. Why did he do this? He did it to please his friend. Arjuna came there because he heard of the attempts of the evil kings to obstruct Krishna on the road. Text 55. Paribarham upagritya dwarakam etcha satchaya Reme Yadunam Rishapo Bhagavan Devaki Sutta. Lord Devaki Sutta, the chief of the Yadus, then took his dowry and Satya to Dwarka and continued to live there happily. And Jiva Goswami comments, holding all the wealth closely, Upa a Griya. He went with Satya to Dwarka. Krishna did not personally involve himself in the fight. In other words, he had Arjuna protect him. And Sanatana Goswami comments, and I'm skipping over part of this commentary, which is repetitive. The kings could not prevent him from taking the wealth. The best of the Yadus, he was served by them. He was cared for by Devaki Sutta, since he appeared on earth for various pastimes, Bhagavan, as the Supreme Lord, or endowed with all powers, Bhagavan, he enjoyed. And text 56. Shruta kirte sutam bhadram upayeme petri swashu kai kehim ratrivir datam Krishna santardanadipi. Bhadra was a princess of the Kaikeya kingdom and the daughter of Lord Krishna's paternal aunt, Shruta Kirti. The Lord married Bhadra when her brothers, headed by Santardana, offered her to him. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, basically repeating the commentary, Jiva Goswami says the meaning is clear. And Sanatana Goswami says something a little bit different. The brothers gave Bhadra because Krishna was he who attracts all hearts. Krishna. And as we know, the derivation of the word Krishna is Krish, means to attract. And just like we have in the Bhagavad Gita, the verse Krishigo Rakshavadijan, Vaishya Karma Svabhavajam, describing the qualities of a Vaishya, that Krishi means someone who pulls or attracts like a tractor. So Vaishyas in the Vedic system didn't use tractors, they used oxen or bulls to pull the plow. But that same concept is there. Attract, krish, to attract. And na could mean two different things. It also refers to negation of the material miseries and refers to ananda, or bliss. Krishna gives you bliss and he negates the material miseries. So text 57. Sutam cha madradipater Lakshman nam lakshanaryatam swayambare chaharaika sasuparna sudamiva. Then the Lord married Lakshmana, the daughter of the king of Madra. Krishna appeared alone at her Swayamvara ceremony and took her away, just as Garuda once stole the demigod's nectar. And so Jiva Goswami explains more here. The king of Madra was named Brihatsena. Lakshmana was endowed with auspicious marks. Lakshanai. The king, knowing his daughter's inclination for Krishna, in order that she attain Krishna, made an arrangement with a fish which was difficult to pierce. When Krishna pierced the fish, the wicked kings said, "O king, this was your idea, not your daughter's." Knowing the determination of his daughter, the king then allowed her to choose. The events are related in the Kurukshetra trip. So, pretty self-explanatory. And the commentary by Sanatana Goswami is exactly the same, except for one sentence here. The example of Garuda stealing nectar shows how alone he took her by defeating a host of kings. And text 58. I think we're going to finish the chapter. Lord Krishna, Anyaschaivam vidabharya Krishnasya san sahasrasha Krishnasya san sahasrash, as I said there, Moman hatvatan nirodad Ahritascha rudarshana. Lord Krishna also acquired thousands of other wives equal to these when he killed Bhaumasura and freed the beautiful maidens the demon was holding captive. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments he accepted 16,000 Sahasrasha women as his wives. And Jiva Goswami tells more of the story. Brahma was born from the earth through Varaha. In the Vishnu Purana, the earth says, Yadaham mudranata tvaya sukharamurtina tvatsparsha sambhava putrastadayam jayata. O Lord, when you lifted me up in the form of a boar by your touch, this son was born to me. I'll explain that in a second. Actually, Sanatana Goswami says the same thing. He has the same quote. And then he says, he had great strength. This is described later. Thus ends the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami to the 10th canto, 58th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Krishna Marries 5 Princesses. So that's the end of the chapter. And just one final comment about Lord Baraha and Bhumi. Of course, we know that's the pastime told in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Lord Baraha lifted Bhumi up, and Bhumi, the earth planet, had sunk in the Garbhodak ocean, and he lifted her up with his tusks, and when he touched her with his tusks, she became impregnated. And she became impregnated because Angani, Asha, Shakalen, Driyadri Timanti, Pashanti Panti, Kalyanti, Chiram Jaganti, which is described in the Brahma Samhita, that the Lord can do anything with any one of his senses. We are limited. We can only smell with our nose. We can only hear with our ears. We can only see with our eyes, touch with our skin. But Krishna can do anything with any one of his senses. So he was able to impregnate the earth planet. And the earth planet became Boma, the son of Krishna. And later on, Boma, because of bad association, this is a topic I talk about quite often, dealing with nature or nurture. What does that mean? That people are born with a certain nature, but by nurture or by association, as Krishna says in the Gita, Karnam Guna Sangasha Sad Janma Jonishu, the cause of our consciousness, activities, is Guna Sangha. That means association. So we see often, and of course I've had a lot of experience dealing with people who do very well in good association. You know, they come to the Krishna conscious movement, they're really blissful, and they're even initiated, and they do really well. Wow, they're such an advanced devotee. But as soon as they become a little lax with their association, that may be laxity in terms of food, eating food in different modes, eating food not cooked by devotees, eating grains cooked by people who are not in the right frame of consciousness. Or it may be music, or it may be even Krishna Katha, heard from the wrong person. As the Hari Bhakti Shuddhaya states, a Vaishnava Mokod Girnam Putam Hari Katam Ritam Shravana Naiva Kartavyam Sarpo Chista Yatapayam. That one should not even hear about Krishna from someone who is not following strictly. Just recently I've been reading about the sahajas that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur defined, different types of sahajas. Sahaja means people who take things cheaply. Actually, he called, the correct term is prakrita sahaja. These mean materialistic people who take things cheaply in Krishna consciousness. And he was describing, if one takes the association of a sahaja, then one's devotional service is lost. He said it's better, oh my God, not much time. He said it's better if someone is completely fallen and a rascal than a sahaja. Because at least it's honest, you can see. So anyway, so association is so important. So Krishna's own son, Boma, by bad association became a demon, and he had to be killed by Krishna, and therefore Krishna was able to rescue all the princesses, the 16,000 princesses that were kidnapped by him. So on that happy note, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham
Sundarangam Kandar Ako Vitamaniya Vishesha Shobha
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalem Kriya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padaya Putale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namande Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Bacha, Neke Nivesesha, Shunyavadi, Pasyachavu, Satarane. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Siva Sari Gaurata Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Siva Sari Gaurata Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadada Siva Sari Gaurata Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Go Go, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hey, rock, looking on a rock, looking on a drug day. Rock, looking on a Hey, Radhe, hey, Radhe, Jai Om. Radha Krishna. Radha Kunda, Giri Gopada. Vrindavanam ki jai, Mathuram ki jai. Chakradasami ki jai. Munamai ki jai. Smadhilavasta Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta ki jai. Gaur. Hari Bol. All glories. All glories. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chaito Darpadam Arsadam Bhava Mahad Bhagni Nirapadam Shreya Kairavya Chandra Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahoda Sarvasyaktish Drapta Vivata Smaranena Kala Ekadrashita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Mitrishani Hanani Nana Raga Janada Pisani Chena Eva Sahishna Amanina Manadena Sundarim Kabidamba Jagadisha Kamaye Amajanmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Radhai Chiki Twaye Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Davapada Pankaja Sita Duli Sadra Samvachintaya Nayanam Galudashu Daraya Vadanam Gadgada Rudyakira Pulaka Dishitam Bapukadam Vanama Grahane Vivishati Jugai Tam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravishaitam Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Vidahena Me Shabhapadam Anastunam Adarsanam Marmatam Karotuva Yatatata Bhavadratu Lampato Matprana Natasu Sevanaparaha. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon, is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. My Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings Thus your hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy name. I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen to this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me started by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he'll always remain my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shikshastika ki jai. So Leela Shakti dressed the deities very nicely, and again, there's a lot of preparation there. A lot of preparation. Just one humble request. The deities dressed very wonderfully. Just one humble request is when I'm here, please don't use that incense, whatever type of incense is being used. I'm having trouble breathing because it's toxic. Whatever incense that is, yeah. Please. I mean, you can use it when I'm not here. Yeah, he has the same problem. That's why he gave it to you.
No.